Dude, it's starting. It's coming. It's this week. We have football. We're talking AFC East right now. Up in here, up in here, up in here. How do I feel about the AFC East? I think I have concerns about every team in this division that's not the Bills. So Bills will start out with first. Good? Yeah. I don't know. It's weird, right? The Bills are like a good offensive line that doesn't outside of Deion Dawkins, not a lot of name talent there. It's not fun talking about the Bills. They're just there every year. So, like, could you show me something that, like, Kincaid? Are we gonna get to see finally some stuff with Kincaid? Can you get kinky for us, if we will? They did bring in Elijah Moore, made some noise at the beginning of camp, didn't really do much beyond that, though, so we'll see if he ends up being a star for them later on. Khalil Shakir, who was injured through most of the summer, he's coming back, I feel like, for this week, for week 1. So good feelings there, good feels there. Curtis Samuel injured through a lot of camp as well and into the summer, and we'll see what happens with him. The receiving room's just very weird. Are we going to see the star of the show from last year's draft, Keon Coleman, take a step forward? Can he maybe be a big slot role or a big slutty role? Who knows? James Cook, they extended James Cook. Ray Davis fans, I'm sorry if you thought he was going to take over once Cook left in free agency. Cook's money wasn't that bad. It was $12 million APY, not a lot of commitment there beyond next year. So listen, I think this is where we're starting to see a lot of this go, is those kind of like those RB guys that are like maybe not the stars of the show getting basically what's essentially wide receiver 3 money. I think that makes some sense in that realm of stuff. We saw a similar deal struck out with Kyron Williams with $11 million for the Rams. So it was like $1 million more than Kyron. Who cares? Doesn't mean that Ray Davis won't get some kind of a role, but Cook, it's time to shine, buddy. Show that explosiveness. Run between the tackles. But again, it all comes down to Josh Allen and Joe Brady. Tom Brady, Joe Brady and company. And so I think it'll be good. I'm excited. I'm excited for that offense. Defensively, that was where they were hurting themselves last year. Do we feel better about that defense? Other than I like that they brought in Joey Bosa. I like Bosa. I like the Bosa with the bigger Nosa. Outside of that, like, again, it's a lot of the same guys. Ed Oliver, AJ Epinesa. So much of the same stuff, man. Back end. I think they brought back Poyer literally this week, too. That was the fun part, right before the start of the season. Interesting idea. We got to see some DeMar Hamlin. We got to see some Ed Oliver. Again, I think defensively, the good thing is it does sound like they'll be a bit healthier on defense. If they could do that and take steps forward with some dudes. They spent a first-round pick on Harrison. I'm not even sure he's going to be playing right away. I'm not sure what the whole deal is. I don't know what happened with Trey White. I think he was on the Bills, I thought, at one point. I'm a little concerned about that. What's going on with him? What's going on with Mr. White, man? Let's go back to that. But yeah, how do we feel about this team? Again, Trey White is back. Okay, that's what I thought. Benford's there. I didn't have the paper up for me. Benford is going to be the other side of it. Milano, still linebacker there. Taylor Rapp, I think he started to see a good role there as far as being a strong safety. But, like, again, the back end is just kind of a weird back end. Rousseau, who I think is probably their best edge rusher. I think he played really well last year. And, again, they have a good rotation there of dudes. I get that. But we need this defense to not lose them games this year. Dude's got to get healthy. Dude's got to stay healthy. That's a big part of this whole defense. Offensively, again, offensive line-wise, pretty solid offensive line with Torrance, McGovern, Edwards in the middle, Brown and Dawkins. I'm digging what they got. I forgot they brought Josh Palmer in free agency. I did like that addition because they kind of had the issue of they needed a true X. Everybody else is having that problem if they can't line up on the outside and be a downfield threat, and Palmer can do that. He showed he could do that when he was with the Chargers. He could do that for the Bills. I think this team is going to be a dark horse candidate to get to the AFC Championship game, but they do kind of have like moments where they just flummox on themselves, and you're like, why can't they figure it out, right? Why can't you figure it out, Buffalo? I've already done videos on the Jets and on the Patriots, so we'll touch on them a little bit less. We'll touch a bit on the Miami Dolphins, a team that I do actually enjoy their head coach, Mr. Mike McDaniel. But let's also talk a little bit about the problems with that team, shall we? I like Tua. I hate the fact that they don't seem to ever get him a backup that actually can be good. Now, there's a lot of talk about maybe, like, should they have gotten Garoppolo? I'm starting to think Garoppolo and McDaniel do not get along. I'm just saying in theory. But they don't even get, like Zach Wilson. We're going to bring in Zach Wilson because he definitely could be a high-end guy, right? Nope. I have no proof that Zach Wilson could be anything other than a hunk of potatoes. That's it. Defensive line-wise, I like them, right? They have Chop Robinson, who actually showed out pretty well last year as a good edge rusher. Jalen Phillips has to stay healthy. Bradley Chubb has to stay healthy. They drafted Kenneth Grant. I liked Kenneth Grant in the draft, and I like him going along with Sealer and Phillips. So that D-line is going to be pretty tough. I think that's going to be the thing that has to save them sometimes in some this year because the back end, lots of injuries. So many injuries on the back end that they're going to be playing dudes who we haven't even heard of at some point. Fitzpatrick, Obi Melifonwu are going to be their safeties. Obi Melifonwu was the effective Melifonwu. We're playing their safety room. Okay. I like the safety room. Fitzpatrick, right? They got him for Jalen Ramsey. Didn't seem like Jalen Ramsey wanted to be in Miami anymore. So, and I was a big fan of this maneuver for them because they just weren't keeping him anyway. So, but every freaking corner seems to be injured for them. So, defensively, it's going to be interesting. Is what can they scheme up and how can they cover up a lot of their issues with that safety room, basically with their corner room, utilizing those safeties and their linebackers, who I think are also really good. Offensive line wise, Paul, Savanea, Brewer, Daniels, Jackson, you're going to have to see them show up, right? It's got to be better. They got to be able to grind it out a little bit better. Devon Achane's always a popular one to, take it off the top and just go ahead and explode and get you some explosive runs. But it can't be check down Charlie for the rest of this year, I think. You got to have, a functional offense here. And, again, I like Achane, but they got to do a lot more with him. Hill, dear God, man. Hill, the question is going to be, is he healthy? Is he still there? Did any drop-off happen? Or is any drop-off going to happen because he's in his 30s now? Is he going to lose that speed? Is he going to lose that route running ability that he's built up over the years? Is he just going to burn himself out from personality? Because it sounded like that was an issue. I like Waddle. I've been a very big fan of Waddle since he came out. He had a couple of years there where he was a very big star player. Sounds like he's had some injuries over the last couple of years. And then also the Tua issue of his coconut being fragile in Italian. I think we might see a little bit of Malik Washington a little bit more out of the slot. And I think that'll be fun. We saw a lot of him in the preseason because they didn't want to really run the risk of hurting Waddle or Hill because you can't have your stars get injured in preseason, even though Tua was enjoying himself. I think, again, we're going to have to see a step forward on that offensive line, especially on the left side. Daniels is brought in to kind of compete and add a little bit of, hey, we want to run a little bit of power. James Daniels, guy who's been around this league a lot of teams. But he could also play center as well. So if they do have an issue where somebody gets injured, at least they could kick him into center. I have concerns. But I also think, I forgot about, Darren Waller being back. Cause retirement and coming back was always a fun idea for him. Cause he seemed like he was so excited to play tight end. Oh, I have to block. What's blocking? Trading away Jonnu Smith. Okay. I'm not terribly upset about that. But yeah, Miami, I still think they're the dark horse to be, they're the second best in that division, I think, still. Listen, I love the Patriots, but are we entirely sure that offensive line is fixed? Is there going to be a lot of health issues? Because, again, remember, you got Campbell, who is kind of built like a guard, playing left tackle. Play left tackle, obviously, in college. But, again, you have some concerns there. A lot of young dudes on that offensive line mixed in with some older guys. I have a lot of concerns. Again, we talked about I did a video already talking Patriots and Jets. I think both the Patriots and Jets will give some teams some fights for their money. I think they're each a year or two away from really being stellar teams. But again, I think the good thing for the Patriots is they spent a lot of money on defense. Now Gonzalez has to show up healthy. I still think this ends up breaking down to I think this is a downward trend year for Miami, but they still end up eking out the second spot. The Bills are still going to be number one. And it really is going to come down to what can the Jets do with that offensive line, because they are going to sneak out some wins. They are absolutely going to sneak out some wins with their run game, with Breece Hall, with Justin Fields, with that defense. Although I do feel concerned about that defense as far as defensive tackles go. They did make a trade at the end of the summer for a D tackle in Phillips from the Vikings, so I do kind of like that move. For some reason, I think this D-line, it just might have gotten saved from a last-minute trade. In the back end, I think, again, they extended Sauce Gardner. I like a lot of the stuff that they did. Still concerned about receiver, two position there. Mason Taylor's going to probably be their second or third best pass catcher for them, the tight end rookie that they drafted in the second round this year. They cut Malachi Corley finally. Wasn't a big fan of him last year, and I outside, Joe Douglas maybe was good at one or two wide receiver picks. Everybody else has been terrible. Tell me some, like outside of Garrett Wilson, maybe Elijah Moore, and there was still, I'm glad he's on the Bills, and I hope he has a resuscitation to his career with the Bills, but I digress. I don't know. I think it's going to probably break down to, until we figure out health situations here, Bills, Miami, Jets, and Patriots. Patriots and Jets. I don't know.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous. About the past and about the future.